You ready?
Yes.
Hello friends, and welcome back to another episode of Sunday Stories with me, your host, Fahrim Shirinzade, where we cover ongoing headlines and meet interesting fucking guests. I'm here with a great friend of mine. He is the man you go to when your business needs some funding. I'm talking about the cash. He has been the CEO of Create Business Incubator, the co-founder of Zoomability and electrical all-terrain vehicle, and not to forget, involved in 2 investment companies. He has developed the ultimate formula in investment readiness process and knows the ins and outs of the startup investment world. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce this week's co-host, the one and only Jan Larsson. How is life?
It is good. I say as my grandmother says, it's so good it couldn't be better.
It's like couscous. So good, they named this twice.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you still manage to work during the COVID-19 times?
As little as possible, as usual.
All right. Working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
But how has that affected you?
For me, really, it was kind of good because I had a hectic time, and then COVID came, and I got some assignments that I lost. But in the long run, I think I needed this pause, so I really used it. I just came now from my coach session to focus on 3 ventures, so I'm not too busy on too many things. So that's why I'm trying to scale down. So it's working less.
You said coach. What kind of coach is it? Is it a mental one or is it a personal trainer?
Actually, combination between a personal coach from a mental and a physical perspective, but also business.
All right.
So it's really all of it, and it's really good because I got a lot of things going on and thoughts and so on, and I just separated from my wife since 20 years, so it's been a difficult time, but he's really helping me with his questions, and then I find my own answers, and then eventually I end up here, and we just left it, and I said life is good. It's good to be Bjorn.
That's amazing. And do you have to pay a lot for this kind of coach? Is that $1,000 an hour coach?
No, but I just told him that given the result, I pay him too little.
Really?
But before you start, then you think, okay, this is a lot of money. But I mean, for me, it's worth it every dime.
Yeah,
so it's no problem.
Yeah, usually we talked with Patrick on the show, performance coaches and all kinds of coaches.
Patrick Grant?
Patrick Grant, yeah.
He's my coach.
He is your coach? I did have a sense that it could be him.
Yeah,
wow, so he's that good, huh?
He's really good.
Wow.
Now I can say that, really. He's also one of my instructors in my investment readiness process. When I had him as a coach, then I can also really say that he's really awesome. He's so good. So
before we start terrorizing you with the questions that we'll start terrorizing with the questions maybe you not know. So, and the segment we have on the show is called True or False. So you get a statement and then you say, is this true or is this false? Pretty easy.
Yeah, pretty easy. Yeah.
Let's just start the show. First question. A sneeze is faster than an eye blink.
False.
That one is true, actually.
I'm going to be awful at that.
It's completely okay. It's completely okay.
Yeah.
Second question. John F. Kennedy is on the $2 bill.
False.
Good job. See, you got 1 point there.
1 point.
Yeah, good job. It's Thomas Jefferson. Yes. Third one. Fingernails grow faster than hair.
False.
That is also true. You're good. 2 points. Wow, you started pretty slow and then you got up again.
I'm getting
wow, okay. Fourth one. Olympic gold medal is made of silver.
False.
That one is true, actually.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
But it's also very misleading. Have you got one?
I haven't got one.
Well, I thought I have to redo my questions if you said you got one.
That's why I don't know what it's.
But that's the thing with you, you know? Like sometimes you think you know stuff that you've done, and then you suddenly, bam, you just talk about something, and you're like, yeah, I've been doing that too.
Yeah.
And then you get surprised, like, how much time did you have growing up, you know?
But I have not a gold medal.
Okay,
That
great.
would be
Okay. All right, fifth one. Shrimp's heart is in its head. They're really small. They're really, really small.
Yeah, true.
That is true. That is true. Are you into animals, by the way?
Not that much.
Not
I
that
eat
much?
shrimps though.
All right. So you wouldn't say that you are a special kind of animal? Like we had Alexander Gaga on the show, and he said that he sees himself like a white shark.
Oh, like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see yourself as a special
I see
animal?
myself as an eagle.
An eagle?
Yes.
All right. Why is that?
I think it's probably because I got the ability to really go sky high and see the whole picture, and
Yeah.
I can dive down and be really, into the ground when I need to. So that kind of flexibility.
That is cool. 2 more to go. Okay. A rabbit eats its own poop.
It's true.
It is true.
I've seen it. It's in
Wow,
my
you
garden.
really?
Yeah.
That's why you were
in my
so
garden.
sure about it.
Yeah, that one is probably the only one I'm really sure about. I've seen it.
That is cool. Okay. 7. And the last one. Are you ready?
Yes.
Sandwich is named after a person.
True.
That is also true. That is so true. But how cool isn't that?
Yeah. That's
You know, my granddad.
His name is Sandwich.
His name is Sandwich. Did you know
My
that?
brother's name is Burger.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Björn, you made the terrorizing question true or false. Congratulations. You're not going to get any prize, unfortunately. Let's just move on and let's just talk about stuff that takes up most of your time right now. You know, from the work aspect.
Okay. When it comes to the professional side, it's to really focus on the 3 ventures. As we can't do that much business right now, I try to plan and make preparations for the autumn. But in one of them, my own company, Beals, I've got 2 investment readiness processes going on, and it's all is on webinars, so we're doing it online.
Right.
And it's one meeting every second week or so it's not that much work, but it's a little bit of preparation and so on. But it's really good. It's 2 nice companies, really good.
Yeah, I mean, your kind of industry maybe doesn't get that affected by this crisis, seeing as you can do it online, right?
No, not at all. We do the investment readiness process in English, and if they like, and then online, all meetings online. And I've got a software that actually makes it easier to document everything and make the assignments there. So it's really good. And we mix between online meetings and assignments, and they read some literature and so on. I was really inspired by an American investor, Jason Calacanis, and his book Angel. I think everyone should read it before they even think of investing in any tech startup, actually.
Okay. Is it specific for tech?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
He's probably the best angel investor in tech companies in the United States. So it's
pretty heavy title.
Read and learn.
Yeah. But which companies have he invested in?
He was really early in many of those that you can today say they're the biggest ones. So it's you can read the book.
Yeah, I will.
He's telling the difference between him and many investors and many books is that he's an investor who's actually he's giving the entrepreneurs all his advices, and he's really telling the truth. It's not trying to make it so that he gets an advantage. He's giving you all the tools to understand how an investor is thinking. So it's a really good book to read.
Right. So usually people say it's kind of smart money. Like you get the knowledge and then you get the capital. Is it in that way?
Yeah,
or you mean
that's another perspective. But he's revealing all the tricks that investors are doing.
Huh. Yeah, that is like a magician revealing its own
exactly,
magic
and
tricks.
that's why it's so good book. And I read it, and actually the investment readiness process that I invented, it's based on his methodology. So his 10 questions that he asks or so on, that I built the process on that. And then I've been combining it with my own experiences and also a lot of inspired from Lennart Olsson, which is a Swedish really good investor and founder of Stoaf, Stockholm's affärsräknare. And he also wrote a book in tech startups, but focused a lot on the due diligence and the financial design. But I combined those in the investment readiness process, so I reveal everything.
And now we can't, skip to ask you the question: what is investment readiness, process?
Yeah.
Is it just the way you invest money, or?
No, it's a process in 5 meetings and 8 assignments that is aimed for founders to really understand their own individual goals, both with the company as such, but also their economic and financial goals, and to understand when they want to reach those goals. And often founders in a team of 3 or 4, they don't actually talk about this in depth. And then suddenly one of them is the chairman of the board, and then it's difficult to have those discussions. But when you meet an investor, they will absolutely have an idea what their financial goal is and what the timeline is.
Right.
And they will push the investment to be in line with their goals. And if you, as a founder, haven't got a clue, you're already, you could be in difficulty. So it's a way to secure that you are ready to take on an investor. Because I say to them, before you have an investor on board, you are in charge. And when you have an investor on board, the money will be gone soon, but not the investor.
That's true.
So
That's
then
very
you
true.
have to, you have to share all those goals and thoughts with another person. And that's why I really want to prepare them, the founders, before they meet an investor. And it's good for the investment as such, because then they will be easier for them to find an investor that matches their needs.
Right.
And then that is a foundation for a good venture.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as a business, you think that getting money is such a happy moment. When you finally get that 1,000,000 crowns in your account and you finally can do something with it. But as you say, a couple of, let's say, 12 months down the road, you have no money, and then you still have to do the work, and you have to get the new investors in because you didn't maybe think the way through. And it's just a bad loop.
Yes.
And you become so heavily dedicated getting the money all the time. So you stop focusing on your startup or your business, right?
And if you don't sell, you won't reach the goals, and then you will lose the money faster, and then you have to take on money on a lower valuation because you haven't reached the goals.
Yeah.
That's when you're getting diluted. So you have to count on the whole timeline, and then backwards calculating actually to finance the company the old way. In Insumobility, one of the companies I was co-founding, we did 5 investment rounds in 5 years. And if I could have used that time on the market instead, guys, we could have done so much more.
Yeah.
Still, we got out in Sweden, in Europe, and then in the US. We made a really success in the US. We sold that all-terrain vehicle for people that couldn't walk, so it was veterans,
Right.
US veterans.
That's kind of cool.
And 2013, I signed an order on, and the Zoom, the product at that time, was $13,000. So, and I sold 111 Zooms on one order to the Independence Fund. Then you could talk about being a happy moment.
That is great.
Because the best thing is to sell your product and make money on that.
Yeah.
But if that's not possible, then the second best might be investors. But you have to think it through.
Jesus
Otherwise,
Christ.
you might end up like Insumobility did in some way, taking on too many investors in too short time.
Right. But did you guys keep up with the evaluation? Or?
We got the evaluation up all the time, but eventually we were so diluted that when the exit, we had an offer from one of the global, big ones, but the deal didn't get through. And one thing that was really sad at that time is that none of the founders had enough shares to be at the negotiation table.
No way.
Because the bigger investors were the one who had most shares, and then they were doing the negotiations. So I wasn't even there, and the deal, went down. So it's That was sad, but from that I've learned a lot, and now I'm sharing that with other entrepreneurs in the investment readiness process.
So walk us through. I mean, what happened? Like, you wake up one morning, you get an email that says, "I want to buy your company," and you say yes. Your other teammates say yes.
Yes.
And now you're not invited to the actual meeting
because you are. This is really good question, Fran. Because you are still in the limelight, because you are the sales. You know, I used to be the CEO, then I stepped down to be the sales manager. But you're still in focus, so that the company buying your company want you to work, of course. So even if I would have a little bit more shares, they still wouldn't have me negotiating because I was part of the deal, as well as the CEO. So this is what I try to get founders to understand, that if you really want to do an exit within 5 years, you need to step down from the limelight positions in 3 years, so that someone else is on that position when the acquisition is made. Because then otherwise you will be handcuffed for 3 more years.
Definitely. Yeah.
And you will definitely not be there to negotiate the deal. So few. This is something that very few think of, and maybe you shouldn't look at doing an exit as your goal. But when I ask founders, why are you doing this? Well, one question could be, I want to make money. Well, that will not be enough to make all the efforts that you need to do to make this happen. So then I go deeper, and then they might reveal that I'm doing this because I want to be free and I want to work with things that it really matters to me. Okay, if that's your ultimate goal, then we have to look at this plan, because maybe it's more important that you can still work with this than having the money and have someone else decided what to do with the company, because then you won't be free.
Right.
So and this is so the investment readiness can sound a lot like a financial process, but it's really a mental and a kind of an individual founder asking themselves, why are we doing this? Then we can get it into a financial process, so they can handle the investment process better. But it's really nice. I love to work with it, and I've got 8 instructors now that are working on the license on the investment readiness process. So it's spreading. 50 companies has done it now.
That's crazy.
I had a company now that got a really nice investments after having an investment readiness round. So
during the COVID-19 times.
Yes,
wow.
That's amazing. They took it down in May, which was amazing. I want to talk to them, see if they were satisfied, because COVID actually played against the entrepreneurs. I mean, investors are now having their portfolio, and probably all of the companies have difficulties, so they rather defend the investments that they've already done, instead of going into new ventures. And if they do that, they have a really a great bargain time. They can negotiate really hard. So I would advise any company to not bring on money if they don't really have to do it. To just wait until 2021. When it's a more fair market.
And we spoke a little bit about this in the beginning, that how the COVID situation, affects this process. Do you think that this process and the way investors are investing is going to be completely digitalized? Taking with the AI, virtual reality, and all this cool technology that's coming out.
Well, I think that digitalization should be used in things that we can do digitally now, without affecting the real values that we cannot do with today's technology and AI. And for me, example would be like, okay, well, let's say we have the investment readiness process. I've digitalized everything that I can when it comes to assignments, literature, preparations, documentation, everything. But the actual meeting, when I ask the questions to the founders, and I have 4 founders in the room or online, and they should answer the question, why now? For example, then I listen to them, and I can hear what they're not saying. And if there's anyone out there has an AI that can hear what is not being said, that would be lovely. But today I haven't seen it, so I want to have that meeting to listen to them. And when I have 3 founders, I can see what is not being said. If someone's changing, their face a little bit when someone is talking, I can ask them, okay, I saw that you reacted. What was that? That's something I haven't seen that an AI can do.
Right.
Visually see that someone is reacting and then say the correct following up question.
Yeah.
And the third thing I'd say is the chemistry between two people meeting. Like, let's say I have another venture with two or three co-founders, Norcop, which is digitizing transactions for more mature companies, companies that have 3 years of history and they have a 10 million turnover. Then we can digitize a lot of the process, but not the actual meetings with the investors, because then you have to meet them because it's still an early stage company. You have to work very closely with your investors and you want to meet because it's a chemistry between two people.
Definitely.
And that's also one thing that I don't think today AI can really do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very hard challenge.
Because if I, as a person, if I'm better than the AI, why should we change it right now?
Right.
But when the AI is better and the need is so big, then we can change technology. But this is always difficult to be on top of the technology, but not overdoing it.
Yeah.
And I think it's right now. I like to digitize everything that is economics, financials, the law perspective, legal perspective. But not the actual listening and follow-on questions, and the meeting between people.
Do you think that our role as human being on this planet will be over when we have that technology that can, analyze the movements we make, blood pressure we have, the eye contact, and
no, I think that will make the human race, if you say so. We will get time and energy so that we can use it to something new, something else that we cannot do today. So it will be opening up possibilities. That's what I think.
What would that be?
Oh,
like what? Yeah. What I mean, seeing as we are, we are kind of lazy as human beings. Mm-hmm. That's why we order food and we don't take, the walk 5 minutes down the street to get to the pizzeria. We want to order shit. Yeah. And if we get more time for ourselves, what do you think was going to happen?
Well, it's one thing is just ordinary people. I don't know if they're going to spend it in a better way. But if we can get free time for people who are really advanced and really skilled, they can focus more on the things that are the real challenges. And right now, one of my sons is really into the space, programs that are doing, and he was listening to one of the biologists, and she said, if right now there's no person on Earth that can say that there's not life on Mars, because we can only define what life is on Earth.
Right.
So now when they send this, whenever it's going to leave for Mars, and they get this material back that they're going to try to dig out from 2027, what we will give back. Then we can define this is something that can be called life, but in a new definition. Huh. And maybe we even can find a metal.
Wow. That
can be a metal that it doesn't exist here. Imagine if we can find a metal that can, store energy. Wow. You don't know. No one knows because
fusion power.
No one's been there.
Wow.
That's cool. So more time for skilled people to work with those challenges. Yeah. That would be nice.
Right. So it's not going to be like the movie Ready Player One, when that, because that's what you think of. Like as ordinary people, you think of if people get more time, they will maybe have more war going on, or just being home, right? But you're completely right.
But I think that we will see differences, of course, in people. There will be a lot of people that will waste their time. Yeah. As they are doing today, instead of doing good things. Yeah. That's unfortunately the way that we are lazy. So. Definitely.
Well, it's a sidetrack, but I definitely love space. I mean, has he been interested to space for a long time, or yourself?
Not me at all, but just my son. Was really now when Elon Musk is he's probably this century's entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's a rock star.
Yeah, I mean, and what he's doing is really, really good, and he's inspired by that. Yeah. So I'm glad.
Of course. Great, man. All right, so I mean, let's go back to the investment. And if you would invest in a company 5 years ago, you know, you go back in time. Now you have more time. What would you have done?
This is a little bit of a question that it goes back to my days in Zoomability. I had one of the founders. He could really see into the future. He had some difficulties with other stuff like structure and so on, but he could really see in the future.
I would need his number.
Yeah. No, but he's an amazing person. I can give one example, and it's kind of an answer on the question as well. But 2011, he told me that now Segway, Segway, is a one-person electric mobility. But you're standing up, and he said, you're standing on that vehicle like a preacher in a preacher chair.
Yeah.
And no one wants to look like that. They will never make it. And they've spent so much money for 10 years to develop that one, and 10 years on the marketing it. But no one really bought one. And
it's hard to drive one.
Yeah. But it's not natural. Yeah. So he said, look at me. This is the way what people want. And now you can't see, but I'm standing like on a skateboard or a longboard. People wants to stand on the sideway and then hold a steering. And this is what we're seeing on the streets today. And actually in 2012, we got some funds to develop a product that we called I think it was called Zoom board. And we took a longboard, we took the Zoom battery underneath, and we had two big Zoom electric vehicle engines with the wheels, and one like Harley Davidson steering.
Damn,
it was
that's
really
badass.
cool. It's really badass.
Wow.
And we drove it. It was so nice. And then I made a business plan saying that we should alter how people move in the cities by having these standing by the central station is in hundreds, so that people can book them on their iPhone and then just ride them wherever they're going and leave it at the stairs and then just pay for the ride. And I made the entire business plan, and today you can see what that kind of companies are worth. But this was in 2012, 2013. So if I could answer the question, I would say I would have loved to invest in that company in 2015, because then we would have been on the way. We were too early. You have to be able to see like 5 years in the future and be on the wave, not before, not after. It's such much about timing, and that is why really good investors, and you can read the book, Jason Calacanis.
I will.
It's not about making 1 or 2 or 10 investments. You have to look at thousands of companies. You have to make a lot of investments to be there, so that you can have a few of them on the way, and they have to compensate for all the ones that's going down. And unfortunately, if you look today in digital media, we always read about the home runs.
Yeah, definitely.
Never about the other thousands that didn't make it.
That's true.
So it can be blinded by that, and I'd say to minimize that risk, an investor is investing in many companies. You as a founder can only do one at a time.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I meet a founder who's 20, I tell them you got about 4 or 8 chances in your life. Because it takes kind of 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
So which wave are you going to try to hit?
That's true. So what's the total amount of, the percentage of the ones that succeed in the startup world and the ones that actually don't?
Okay, there's some statistics, but the difficulty is always how you define a startup. So if you say that a startup in Sweden, well, that's something that is pre-market, they're not commercialized, they are not on the market. Then you could say that it's maybe 1 in 40.
Wow.
I don't have the statistics on that one. But then in the U.S., so then you talk about startups that are post-commercialized, so they actually make money.
Not a positive flow.
No, maybe not. But
okay.
you're still out there, because there's a lot of companies that don't have a positive cash flow, but they're selling for it. But if you're selling your scaling service on an annual, monthly basis, so it's really recurrent, then that's called startup. And then there's 1 out of 10 that makes a home run. When a home run is like 10 times the money. So anyone investing in that stage of a company needs to invest at least 10 companies to have one chance to hit it. And then you have to have that much money so you can go into your 10 companies at the same time, sort of, and then also have the money to fund them in their second and third round.
Exactly.
And that's a lot of money. So there's a lot of investors that I also coach to so that they really understand how much money they need if they're going to go into startup. You can't just hit wonder. That's not the way you do it. That's just
right. And if you are a really bad investor and you miss your one shot out of 10 and you burned all your money, now you're 60 and you have to become a startup yourself. That must suck.
Yeah, you're right.
Fuck, I should have met Björn. I should have met him. Fuck.
No. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. But and that's also why I ask them these questions, because they, as you say, it takes a risk for the investor, but it's also an even higher risk for the entrepreneur. Yeah. And I ask them, like, if you really want to do, make money, why are not you just taking a really good job? Yeah. Really high salary. Right. It's safer. I want to make my dream come true and everything. Okay, then it's going to cost. You have to be there. You have to dare to invest a lot. But there's one woman, I can't remember her name. She's a scientist, and it's researching the 45 best serial entrepreneurs in the world. And she's seen 5 things. And one thing that I remember is that they are always calculating their affordable loss. They're not looking at their possible gain. Where too many of us are looking at the possible gain of what this venture could give us. Right. But the really successful one is always looking at their affordable loss. What can I lose without, it's no problem for me. So they make a calculation, okay, I can invest 2 years into this. And $100,000. That's my affordable loss. If it doesn't become anything, then I have no problem because I haven't lost more than I wanted to. Right. But too many of us looking at the possible gain, and then down the road we've lost more than we wanted to invest, and that's not so fun.
That's a good way of thinking.
It's a good way of thinking. Affordable loss.
Right. Amazing, man. I know you're the man with the money, and
no, not the money. I'm with the sunshine. I'm with the love. But I like to share my experiences.
That's great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the man, and thank you, Björn, for having the time for being on the show, man.
It's my pleasure.
It's our pleasure to have you, and we wish you best of luck during these Corona times, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Sunshine.
Thank you, man.